Hello and welcome into this Spotlight Solutions segment. I hope you're all having a great day one thus far in the symposium. I'm Katie Fehlinger. I'm the host of NAILBA's brand new online news magazine show, Brokerage in Motion, and I'm joined now by Scott Rhinehart. He is the Senior Vertical Market Manager for LexisNexis Risk Solutions. Scott, thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here, Katie. Thank you so much for having us.
It's our pleasure. And if you would, we'd love for you to just introduce yourself. And for those who maybe not be familiar, if you could also give us a background on LexisNexis Risk Solutions as well.
Sure, absolutely. So I joined LexisNexis really about 4 years ago, late 2016. And prior to that, I was a personal lines insurance agent, so selling auto, home, life, and annuities. And I did that for about 8 years. And in that time frame, I really saw where the P&C industry was in terms of data and technology sophistication, conversely to where the life insurance industry was, which was still heavily paper driven. And thought, wow, what a cool experience it would be to really take the life insurance industry, to help take the life insurance industry to where the P&C industry is. And so I was super excited to join LexisNexis and really have that opportunity. And here at LexisNexis, for those that aren't as familiar, there's really three core things that I think help make us unique and provide value to the insurance industry. And the first of those is being the largest data aggregator in North America, and being able to take data from all sorts of different sources and being able to standardize that and normalize it into a consumable and digestible format for our customers. But then the second thing that really makes us unique is our patented linking technology that allows us to link all those different data sources to the right consumer with 99.99% accuracy. And then the third thing is to be able to turn that around and deliver it back in near real time or sub-seconds so that you can make informed decisions right there in front of your consumer.
So that ability to respond so quickly and so accurately is obviously a really big deal, but there are always going to be hurdles in any industry, right? So Scott, from your perspective, what are some of the challenges that producers face in this very dynamic market environment?
Yeah, great question. So I really think it really starts with the consumer, right? And let's really take a look closely at that consumer experience. And really, are we meeting the demands of today's consumer? So if we take a step back, we've made a lot of strides with accelerated and automated underwriting to the extent where we can underwrite a policy and render a decision in some cases in a matter of minutes. But that application process is still taking days. And that's really kind of an unacceptable position to be in. Because from the consumer's lens, I am still in this application process, right? I met with my agent, I completed this, extremely tedious and lengthy application, and it's gone into, this black hole of underwriting, right? I'm waiting for the decision. Maybe the decision's been made, and now I'm waiting for the agent to get back to me. From their perspective, this is all part of that application process that could be, again, rather lengthy. And so I think, from agents, it's a matter of trying to keep up with all the various types of processes that our carriers have in place. No one carrier has a similar process in place. Sometimes that is by distribution channel, sometimes that is by product type as well. So, one carrier may have a different process in place for a term policy versus an annuity. And, those processes may look completely different. So from an agent, I think it's a job in and of itself just to try and keep up with all of those types of changes. But then they are also faced with some age-old problems as well of making sure that application is completed in good order and submitted to underwriting. And when they're trying to keep up with all the various different types of processes that these carriers have put in place, that's a hard task as well. And then they've also got blind spots. So blind spots into retention, as well as blind spots into accelerated underwriting. And that part really ties back to placement ratios. So I think agents are always trying to improve upon those placement ratios really trying to maximize making sure a policy gets placed for every application that they take. And we know that unfortunately doesn't happen 100% of the time, as well as retention, right? So it's always in the best interest of the carrier and the agent and the consumer to try and solve for retention. Now imagine a place where, hopefully they can try and solve for that at the point of application or at the point of sale. So again, trying to solve for some age-old problems and keep up with the ever-changing dynamics of our carriers today.
Yeah, so quite a laundry list of things that could either be delayed or that could go wrong or that just need addressing. So I'm sure you've got a lot of solutions up your sleeve. So how is LexisNexis helping people address these challenges?
Great question. So I really think it really starts with understanding kind of where the industry has been and where it's going. So if we go back, again, as little as 4 or 5 years ago, this was primarily a paper-driven application process, and this was also highly manual, right? So I'm completing a paper application. I'm then sending it into home office where somebody has to data enter that paper application. And then there's somebody there in the home office that may have limited access to pulling data and pulling requirements to start that underwriting process. And so there's several touch points here, a lot of friction in this process. And one point was just making sure you had a legible application. I personally had very sloppy handwriting. So, somebody that had to make out those paper applications, that was potentially a hard job for them. So then came the advent of the e-app and digitizing a paper process. And in the beginning, it was really nothing more than that. And we still see several carriers and agents leveraging this type of process today, where you're now, again, simply typing this information into a digital environment, but it's still just as manual as a paper application. You've really only just solved for legibility because you're taking a wet signature page, attaching it to that new freshly printed e-application, and maybe faxing that up to home office. And then the next level was really introducing an interactive online e-application. And this was interesting for the field, right? So now you have the ability to complete that e-application electronically in the field, which if it's new can present its own challenges, and you've got to get comfortable with that to some degree. But you're then submitting it to home office, and there's still a disconnect. Home office, then does what they do with underwriting that policy, and it's still taking, they're still having to deliver that back to the agent. So this process is still taking potentially days, and that's assuming everything is in good order, everything checks out. So then you get to really this level 4 of the e-application process and this transformation of technology. And I think for a lot of carriers, they really see this as an ideal state, but it comes with some exceptions to it. So now they've taken this e-application and they've attached it to their accelerated underwriting process, and they've married the two together. So if everything checks out, everything's in good order, there's no miskeys with a social or a driver's license number or a date of birth, they're able to run the underwriting tools, everything checks out there, they can get a decision back to the agent in the field in near real time. And that's an awesome place to be in, but it still hasn't solved for some of those problems that we just talked about with IGO, for example, and making sure that you've got the correct information in the application. It also hasn't solved for blind spots into accelerated underwriting, and it also hasn't solved for retention. And again, all of these things can be solved for at the point of sale. And this is really what level 5 takes us to. So now it's the ability to ingest data into that technology platform to empower the agents at the point of sale. So when you do this, you're now able to pre-fill that application with accurate and correct data for downstream underwriting, and further promote the number of people that you can get through and render a decision to in near real time. Additionally, you're able to deliver flags and indicators to say, this consumer may be a very good fit for an accelerated underwriting program, or perhaps he or she is a better fit for a traditional underwriting program. And so again, you're giving the agent intelligence at the point of sale to allow them to make the most informed and best decision for their consumer to help increase that placement ratio. You can do the same thing with persistency and retention. So deliver indicators in the field that say this consumer is a very good likelihood that they can persist long-term, pay their bills, offer them whatever payment plan they like, or perhaps they're at risk of early lapse and you want to customize those payment plans to something that is most conducive for long-term retention. So again, empowering the agents in the field to make really a best-in-class decision for their consumers.
So, Scott, if there were one piece of advice that you would give to producers today, what would that be?
I'd really say to start small and be open to change. So what do I mean by that? You've got several carriers with what I like to refer to as the hood is up and they're looking at the engine from beginning to end, right? And so they're making changes, introducing data and technology, and they're putting forward a lot of that into the field. So if I'm an agent, I'm seeing a lot of new things coming out right now. And so what I mean by start small is just pick one of those new platforms, one of those new tools being introduced, and really get to know it, get comfortable with it. And then once you've done that, provide that feedback back to the carrier because they are listening, right? And I think they recognize that once you're bought in as an agent and you're comfortable with something, you're going to start selling it. You're going to want to sell more of it. And that's only beneficial to them as well. So, be open to change, be open to trying new things and really getting comfortable, one new thing at a time and providing that feedback back to the carriers.
Some really great insights. Scott, if people want to find out more about LexisNexis Risk Solutions, where should they go?
Yeah, Katie, definitely. Thanks so much again for the time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to join the NAILBA Summer Symposium. And to find out more about LexisNexis Risk Solutions, please go to risk.lexisnexis.com/insurance, or you could call 1-800-869-0751 to find out more. We'd love an opportunity to help.
Perfect. Scott Rhinehart, Senior Vertical Market Manager for LexisNexis Risk Solutions. Thank you so much again for your time today.
Thank you.